Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make homemade granola bars, and this is what they look like. When you make a granola bar, it's a combination of rolled oats, and I put in a little bit of rice cereal, and then we bind and sweeten these ingredients with honey, with golden syrup and butter. And then, if you want, what I have done here is I've also added some dried cherries and chocolate chips. So we're going to start with preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 9-inch square pan, which is 23 centimeters. And I like to, well, you can either butter it, or I'm just going to use one of these nonstick sprays and do the bottom and the sides. And then to make sure it doesn't stick, I also use just a square of parchment paper on the bottom. Okay, so now the first thing we need to do is to melt our butter. So I just have a small saucepan. I mean, you could do it in the microwave. And you will need 4 tablespoons, which is 55 grams of butter. You can use either salted or unsalted here. And I've just cut it into small squares so it'll melt a little faster. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on medium-low heat and start to melt it. You can see it's just starting to melt, so what I'm going to do is add in 1/3 cup, 80 milliliters of golden syrup, because golden syrup is very thick and I want to thin it out just a bit, so I put it over the heat. And then I'm also going to add 1/3 cup, 80 milliliters of honey. I'm using a mild flavored honey, but really you can use, any flavor. Just keep in mind the flavor of the honey will affect the flavor of your granola bars. Now, both of these are to bind, like I said, the oats together, and sweeten it. But if you don't want to use honey and golden syrup, other choices are, you could use corn syrup, you could use agave, you could use brown rice syrup, or even maple syrup. So really, I'm giving you kind of a template for how you can personalize your granola bars at home to your own and your family's tastes. So that looks good. I'm going to turn that off and take it off the heat. And then for flavoring, to add a little more flavor, you don't have to do this. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. So I like the flavor of that also. Now this, yes, it's a little warm. So I'm just going to leave this on the counter for maybe 5-10 minutes, just till it cools down to room temperature. So this mixture has cooled to room temperature. Now I think I forgot to mention, when I poured my honey and my golden syrup, you might have noticed how easily it came out of the measuring cups, and that is because I sprayed them before I put the honey and the golden syrup in there, because as you know, those ingredients are very sticky and they tend to cling to the side. So if you spray it or oil it or butter it, just very lightly, your measuring cup, it'll slide out so much easier. So now, in a large bowl, I have 2 cups, 180 grams of, I'm using old-fashioned rolled oats, and that, you can see that's a really thicker texture than the instant or quick cooking. And I just it gives you your granola bars a more chewiness to it. Now you could use the thinner ones if that's what you prefer. And then to that I'm going to add 1/2 cup, 15 grams of a rice cereal like Rice Krispies. And I'm doing this for a couple reasons. It kind of lightens the texture of the granola bar, and then it also adds a little bit of crunchiness, which I like. And then a little salt, 1/4 teaspoon. Now you use salted butter, you could just leave out that salt. And then you can, how you buy granola bars, there's so many things you can put in. Nuts, all kinds of dried fruit, chocolate chips, miniature marshmallows, and really this is where you can just decide for yourself what you want in your granola bars. I really like chocolate chips, so I'm putting 1/4 cup, which is about 40 grams of, pretty small semi-sweet, or maybe these are bittersweet, yeah. Semi-sweet, bittersweet, white milk, whatever you like. And then I like the dried cherries. I find that tart yet sweet flavor is really good. And I'm using, again, 1/4 cup, which is about 35 grams of dried cherries. So just mix it up, whatever you want, leave it out. I mean, really, whatever you want to do, experiment, what your kids like. And then just mix it all together. And then I'm going to just pour in our liquid here. So I'm not using any white or brown sugar. I find the honey and the golden syrup is sweet enough for me. Some people actually like it a little sweeter, and then you could add a little brown sugar or white sugar. That's what's so great about granola bars. I mean, you can just kind of do what you want. Invent your own recipe at home. And then I'm just stirring it together. Pretty easy. Okay. Just want to make sure everything's really moistened here. That looks good. So now, take my pan and just pour it all in there. And then we're going to spread this out. I'm just using, you use back of a spoon, or I'm using an offset spatula. Try to get it as even as possible. And then you want to kind of make sure you press down to compact it. You can do that, or you can just, sometimes once I get it even, you can just, get your hands just a little moistened with some water and just pat it down to really compact it in there. Okay, that looks good. You can see, pretty easy. You save yourself a lot of money making your own. Okay, wipe my hands. So now we're going to bake these. Now, somewhere between, I'd say 22 to 25 minutes. You bake them at least till the top, they're golden brown, the oats have become nice and golden brown. And the longer you bake these, the more crisp they will be. If you like your granola bars quite soft and chewy, then just bake them around that, I find around that 22 minutes. And if you want them a little more crunchy, then just bake them a few more minutes. Okay, so our granola bars are done. You can see they are a beautiful golden brown color. Now, they are, if you kind of feel it, it is really soft. It actually takes probably a couple of hours for the granola to firm up. So what I'm going to do is let it cool down just a little, and then when we come back, I'm going to cut it into bars. So now it's been about 10 minutes and the granola has firmed up enough for me to cut it into strips. So for what I like to do is cut about across here 6 equal strips, which will be about 1.5 inches for each one, 4 centimeters, and just use a sharp knife. If you find it's still too soft, just wait a little longer. And then of course, you can cut them into any size shape you want. And then I'm just going to turn it and cut it just right across the middle. So they kind of look like what you buy, about the size and shape. So there, that's a good. So now what I'm going to do, like I said, they are still very soft. I'm going to leave them probably a couple hours, and then they become really nice and firm. And then I just use a offset spatula, or you can use a knife to get them out of your pan. Now, the first day, they will be very crisp and nice and chewy. If you store them at room temperature overnight, they will soften. If you want to keep them quite crisp, then I usually store them in the refrigerator. So these ones I did make yesterday, and I did store them in the fridge, so they're still quite firm. And I'll just try a little bit. Yes, they are, especially the edges. Best part, nice and crispy, and they're chewy. And you know, they're just using the honey and the golden syrup. I find they're just sweet enough. Quite tasty. So make them. I mean, you'll save yourself a lot of money and enjoy. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.